Middle school students, welcome to our final class. Here in my house, the sun is shining, the birds are singing, and we are getting close to summer. And I hope that you're excited for a break from schoolwork and the possibility just to enjoy time off. Before we dive into our final week's content, I just want to tell you that I am so impressed with your work over the past few weeks. You have gone above and beyond, and I hope the Bible class has been a great encouragement, especially in this season. Before we continue on, you'll want to download the My Summer Mission document from the Google Classroom. You want to follow along closely as we fill in the blanks and go through the drawings together, just like we would in a normal class. Hey, this week we will be doing two different things. We'll be looking back at all that God has done over the past few months. You will be reflecting on what God has taught you and hopefully give me some really helpful feedback for the classes to come. But not only that, before that actually, we want to spend just a little bit of time looking ahead to what the summer has in store for us spiritually. Now, we cannot forget about this super important principle. It's the first blank on our worksheet. And that is this: our spiritual journey is not tied to a school year. Instead, it is the ongoing process of becoming more and more like Jesus. Jesus has called us as believers to grow in our knowledge of who God is, our love of God and His Word, and God-honoring actions, how we think and how we feel and what we do. I like to think of it a little bit like a triangle. We are called to grow and balanced in the areas of knowing, being, and doing. This school year, you have spent a lot of time about Bible class working on growing in your knowledge. And this summer, it is my prayer that you will grow in your love and obedience for God. So we'll move on to our next question. Why a spiritual growth plan? Why a summer mission? Now, I worked at a college last year, and there we told students often that a goal without a plan is just a wish. If we want to work on our walk with Christ, we are going to have to put some intentional effort into that growth. But there is something even more important than that intentional effort. We work on our relationship with God under the umbrella of God's grace. Another way of saying it is this: grace is the fuel of our growth, not other way around. Remember what we talked about with our discussion on Martin Luther? We don't have to, in fact, we cannot work our way up to God. Instead, He has worked His way down to us through the person and the work of Jesus. Keeping that in mind, we realize that God's Word teaches us that a genuine Christ follower always has a desire to grow spiritually, even if that is a small desire. If God has given us grace and we have experienced that, then we are actually going to want to do something with that grace. We are going to want to serve Him, to love Him, and to learn more about Him. In this pursuit of thankfulness, God desires all of us, our mind, our hearts, and our bodies. But not only that, the nature of the Christian walk is one of challenge. Growing in God is challenging, but God gives us the strength that is needed. Now, God spoke to this in His final public prayer. In this world we will have trouble, He said, but take heart because I have overcome the world. Jesus and His grace is the source of endless strength and energy for our spiritual growth throughout our lifetime and even this summer. And we continue by answering the question, what do I sense God calling me to grow in? We have talked in class several times about the biblical picture of a tree. If the tree is good, then there will be good fruit. If the tree is bad, it will produce bad fruit. The same is true for our walk with Christ. If our heart is walking in line with the grace and love of Jesus, then what we do and think and are will become more like Him. Your worksheet says the Bible talks about two types of fruit in someone's life. Either there will be the fruit of the Spirit or the fruit of the flesh. The fruit of the Spirit is evidence of God's grace working. They are markers in our quest to become more like Jesus. You see, as we become more like Jesus, we will naturally grow in these areas. Paul beautifully summarizes 8 of these fruits of the Spirit in one of his very first letters, the letters of Galatians in chapter 5. Let's quickly process through them with a short explanation for each. First, we are to love, which is intentionally and selflessly caring and encouraging others. Next, we have goodness, showing integrity, honesty, and compassion in every circumstance. Third, there's patience, graciously accepting difficult people and circumstances, followed by gentleness, calm, and softly loving the people around you. And then joy, true happiness because of your relationship with God and others. Sixthly, Paul mentions faithfulness, deeply trusting God and allowing others to trust you. Then comes kindness, choosing grace and love with every interaction with all people. And then finally, perhaps one of the more challenging ones, which is self-control, pursuing God without distractions. These are the fruits of the Spirit, what God has called us to grow in as we become more like Jesus. We've come to our last question before you will complete your spiritual growth plan, your summer mission. And that question is, how will you grow? Now, God has given us 3 tools to put in our belt. And that is this. First, we are to have conversations with God, to communicate with the creator of the universe through prayer. Next, we have God's word, through which we receive strength and encouragement and teaching. And then finally, God has given us Christian friends and parents and the church and teachers and coaches to help us stay focused and on track as we become more like Christ himself. Hey, now it is your turn. This week you will fill out your spiritual mission plan and submit it. But not only that, I'd love for you to be able to be reminded of your mission target. So be sure to follow through with the final objective for this week, which is to find a place in your home where you'll be reminded often of what you sense God has called you to do spiritually this summer. Hey friends, it's been an incredible year with all of you. I want you to know that I miss you, that I am praying for you, and I look forward to seeing you again in the fall, hopefully face to face. But above all else, know that I am overwhelmingly confident that God's good work in your life will continue, even throughout the summer, and that He is going to use each of you in powerful ways, even in the next few months, to accomplish His kingdom plan.